So we have Ronnie Ontiveros with us today. Ronnie, how are you doing?
Hello, buenas tardes. I'm doing great.
And Ronnie, for people who don't know you, you are a businesswoman.
Yes.
You sell real estate, right?
I'm a broker and owner of Next Home RGV Realty.
And you also, are you the owner, operator of an ambulance company too?
Mm-hmm. CEO, president.
And is there anything else that you have time to do? Like
Medical flights. When we're not saving lives on ground, we're doing it in the air.
So how did you become this real estate professional that's renowned within the Rio Grande Valley and the owner of an ambulance company?
You never know your fate, but it started as I went to college for business school, and then I also became a gemologist just because I thought it was so interesting. But I never really worked in the field of gemology because I started liking real estate, and it developed from there. And I happened to be in Dallas at the time, and I met the #1 KW agent of the nation. His name was Patrick Iomi at the time. And I said, if I'm going to learn from somebody, it'll probably most likely be this one, because you can pick up some pretty good tricks of the trade.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you said two words I didn't know what they were: gemology, and I think K1 or something like that.
KW.
KW.
Williams.
Can you explain to us what that is?
So gemology is the study of fine gemstones.
Oh, cool.
And that became because I would work with my grandparents who had a jewelry store there at the Bargain Bazaar, now Mercado District, right? But on weekends I would go sell jewelry, class rings, pierced ears, engraved bracelets, and things that sort when you're a kid. And I just thought it was interesting because you could learn about all the different types. That was more of a hobby liking, and I still like to run into a pawn shop and try and find cool things to get a good deal on.
Now Ronnie's being modest. Like the Bargain Bazaar, like people are going there because they don't want to pay like sticker price. They're gonna try to out bargain you because it's the Bargain
Well, you can buy
Bazaar.
anything at the Bargain Bazaar. You could get bows, you could get ice cream, you could get a class ring.
Toys.
Yeah, hobby
Collectibles.
Yeah.
Did you, like growing up, like working at that age, did that help develop like some of your skills?
I believe so. I believe I learned very quickly how to connect with people of all ages. You work with young people, you work with older people. It just became, a lot of the friends I had when I was younger were just older friends, mature friends. If you're going to get good advice from someone, why not get it from someone who's had experience? So I dealt more with an older crowd.
Ronnie, and the reason really why you're here is you're running for something, right?
Yes, I'm running for South Texas College. Our local college, community college, has a board of trustees, and right now I'm running for District 4.
So, like, is the board of trustees kind of like a school board, or how does that work?
Leadership board that makes decisions on behalf of about 35,000 students.
And is it kind of like similar to, is there a superintendent? You work with a superintendent, or is that the president of the university, or how does that work?
They still have a president of the university, so this is the board of trustees above the president. But the president's very good about bringing on programs and advising the council on programs. So
basically, the president is kind of the CEO, and you're kind of the board advising him, saying, "Hey, we want to go in this direction. We want this implemented." You guys basically, you hire and fire the president. He does everything else.
Correct, but it's an elected position. So because it's we have a tax base here for it. If you own property, you pay taxes on that property for STC College, and it's an elected board position.
And I believe they're set up by districts, or how does that work?
Yes.
And which district are you running for?
District 4. Okay. That includes areas of Edinburgh, McAllen, Mission, and Palmhurst.
And is this like in a primary, or specifically, is it just a general election, or?
It's a general election. It is going to be tied into our congressional district, depending on where you live. Like we have a runoff in congressional district 15, so it'll be tied into that.
So is election day for you then the 15th?
April 25th to
April
May
25th.
3rd. That's the early vote.
So
election day would be May 7th.
So May 7th is the actual election day. And early voting was when again?
Early vote, just so people can put it on their calendar. Everybody needs to know to go out and vote on April 25th to May 3rd.
And I always encourage people to go early vote. The lines are a little bit slow, shorter, get it over with. I know
you don't have to wait as long.
Yeah. My assistant, my legal assistant, was gonna vote on the election day, and then something came up, and she wasn't able to vote. So I always encourage people, if you can go early, Like here in Edinburgh, it literally takes less than 5 minutes. So get it done. And of course, vote for Ronnie.
Thank you.
Ronnie, but why do you want to run for this position?
This position has not had an election in a while. The one that was previously in the seat was there for 33 years. Ann Richards had appointed him. His name is Gary Gerwitz, and he did a lot of
When you say Richards, you mean Ann Richards?
Ann Richards. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And for listeners that don't know, some of the younger folks out there, Ann Richards was the governor probably in the early 90s.
Correct.
She was the first governor I remember, and I'm almost 40, so.
Yeah. So she appointed Gary Gerwitz in the position. He did great work for STC. They built up the college to what it is today, and they have a lot of great programs. They happen to be one of the largest producers of nursing and the largest, we have a lot of shortages in our area. We live in the poorest county of the nation. So if anyone knows challenges here, it's the people of the RGV. We know the challenges we face. We have, there's a lot of things that we don't have. We don't have an indigent program. We don't have for medical emergency need. We don't have certain resources. So when we try to work around those resources, it's real important we know our challenges. We face our challenges head on. How can we develop more things out of STC? By creating more jobs there. We have a shortage of CDL drivers. We have a shortage of welders. We have a shortage of construction workers. Right now with the demand, housing is in high demand. We can't produce houses enough to sustain the demand. And the same thing in the medical field. We can't produce enough nurses, which is why medical emergencies, when you dial 911, yes, you get great service. We're there at the hospitals waiting to check in patients. Why? Because there's no nurses there to check in the patients to be able to tend for their care. So when I looked to see where could I serve the greater need, I felt like this was it. This was my calling.
And I guess SCC, I know they contribute a lot to the nurses here in the Valley. What other do they contribute to? Is like you mentioned, like welders, CDL. Can they get
Correct.
that at SCC?
STC builds a lot of the workforce that we have here in the Valley from all aspects. They have great technology programs. So they have a phenomenal robotic system that's in place. I've talked to Dr. Carlos Margo, and he has some great programs there that they've developed. Great. A lot of jobs stem from there. Nowadays, we're seeing robotic surgeries at the hospitals. We're seeing, those type of things, but they all stem from somewhere, and this is a good way to create jobs for our area.
And why do you want to run, Ronnie? Like you could be doing like vacationing places. You could be like, selling more property like up in Dallas, San Antonio. But you're making a huge sacrifice here in terms of like time commitment. Like,
it is a time commitment. It's 6 years. It's a 6-year term. So that means, yes, it does take time away from your family, time away from, but what are you giving back? What kind of surroundings do I want to provide for my children and your children? Where can we make this a better place to be? And so when I feel like I have a good head on my shoulders for this role specifically, I feel like I can advocate for a lot more federal funding, state funding for our students, for our school, for our area. I have great relationships with people up the line that can be helpful. I also want to expand on affiliation agreements with local high schools because I feel like some of those programs can be interlaced under dual enrollment. Some of them already are in place, but there are certain areas of the Valley here that don't have it in place right now.
And I know you mentioned a family. Do you have some children?
I've got 3 boys.
3 boys? And how old are they?
They are 9, 11, and 17.
So it would be a big sacrifice then because the 9 and 11-year-old, 17, he's kind of pretty much take care of himself. But
my boys
9,
are
11,
super independent.
That's good.
Even my younger ones, I have to say.
And so, you're already so busy. Are you worried about the time away from them or?
Not really. I'll tell you something. My boys go to work with me. I happen to have the luxury of being self-employed. So even if I'm at my real estate office, they go with me. They're putting up signs for mom and properties. My kids come along to showings with me. As long as, when they were very young, they would say something like, oh, well, this house has this crack. And like, you gotta be, and so like, be a little more diplomatic how you say it. Okay, mom.
The ghost only comes out at night.
Kids are super honest. They are.
There was only 5 murders here. Don't worry. It's a very nice home.
It's a good deal.
We talked about it a little bit before, but where are you from? I know some of the listeners might not know you. I know Ef'n knows you. I think I just met you a couple minutes ago. So I think you were born in the Valley, but kind of give a little bit of
I was
detail where you're
raised
from.
in the Valley. I was raised in the Valley, specifically McAllen. But I was born in Kingsville. My father worked for Borrego's gas plant, which is on the King Ranch. And even though they came from the Valley, he moved over there when I was born there. but I was raised here since I had grandparents that were here in the Valley. And, we would every weekend spend with them. So, you'd spend your weekends out with your family here. So.
And what high school did you go to?
King High, HM King High in Kingsville. It was a Brema.
Wow. And what, did you go to college or?
Yes. Texas A&M University, which is there in Kingsville too. They had already changed the name from A&I to A&M.
And what did you graduate with?
Gemology.
Oh, so you're you're a full blown like.
I know that's very random.
Yeah, that's rare. So most women though, like with their engagement rings, right? I mean, it's like a.
Ain't passing one.
Yeah.
Ain't no cubic zirconia coming through this ring,
So the minute you see like a diamond, it's the 3 C's, something like that, right? Like
4 actually.
Clarity.
Well, if you want to say it, you can also state 5, but yeah, cut, clarity, carat.
Oh wow.
And legitimately tell like a real diamond from a fake diamond instantaneously? Or do you have to actually get a loop and everything like that?
Having a loop is good. You have an advantage. You can see if there's inclusions on it or so forth, but it's has its advantages.
It's crazy nowadays with we used to buy some watches. They're getting too expensive lately. But the fakes have gotten so good on like the Rolexes that you have to almost be a jeweler just to see a fake now.
Yeah.
It used to be like, oh, if it like the song, I don't know if you're familiar with it. If it doesn't TikTok, it just glides.
Yeah.
That was a test. Now it's like, no, you got to get a loop. Look at the quality of the paint. I mean, it's gotten crazy. So I'm sure with jewelry on diamonds, precious stones, it's probably even more intense because people want to fool you.
Yeah. And there's so many stones too. So, but it is fun. It's nice. It's interesting. You're always seeing different stones.
You were married to a local lawyer, right? Who unfortunately like passed away.
Yeah. God, that was a real good guy.
And I've never heard like anyone say like anything bad about him. He was like known to be a really good like litigator.
Yeah.
Like as a lawyer. And what I didn't know though is when he proposed to you, I mean, that must have been so scary for the poor guy with you being a gemologist.
Yeah.
Like, what type of diamond was it? Like when he proposed?
To be honest with you, he had, it was a romantic proposal. He took me to the Empire State Building in New York, but I guess he felt like, you know what, it's too tricky with you. So interestingly enough, he had a very beautiful diamond that was in a different type of setting. We call it a bezel set, but it was like flush. And it was not the quite setting that you would say you could appreciate this gorgeous diamond in. So it almost did it harm. And when he said, look, I have this, but I think it just needs something better. He could tell, like, he had good taste. So he could tell that it needed something else. I said, well, don't worry. I'll find the right setting. So I found the right setting for it. We ended up remounting it. And that was the ring he proposed to me with.
Oh, wow.
Luckily, I didn't get to see it until the proposal. So it was kind of a surprise anyway.
Yeah. I know. I mean, that's like every man's fear. I think I'm getting engaged to a gemologist because some guys like Chris sometimes cut corners and stuff.
That's why I'm still single. I'm worried about them gemologists coming after me.
Yeah, it's like instead of the 5 C's, I'm focusing on the 1 C.
The 1 C, Chris, the best C.
And I do some like real estate, like litigation, and for some reason, you're like whenever there's a property that someone can't sell, your name is like the first one that comes up. They're like, call Ronnie Ontiveros, she'll get it sold.
Can you tell I like a challenge? Yeah.
And sure enough, like these properties sell, and a lot of real estate like agents and brokers in our area consider you to be like the Michael Jordan of like selling property.
Oh, that's very nice of you.
Like down here. And what do you think has made you so successful in like selling property?
18 years of doing something, you kind of see what you were able to overcome on certain things that, for instance, like my very first listing that I moved here in the Valley was funny because it was a trailer. And the seller was pushing 90. She signed the listing agreement and then passed away within a month. And I hadn't sold her. We had it under contract. So it was very, what do I do now? I wasn't a broker then. I was, taking my real estate classes, but it was new for me. And so then I learned about probate, and then I learned about, how to handle certain situations. What do you do when this happens or this happens or this? Because no one really coaches you or guides you or gives you a good mentoring program. It's kind of like when you get your law license. Unless you're under someone's wing, okay, you understand those scenarios. If not, it's kind of like to each their own. It's a very highly competitive market.
You got to get on the bike and ride.
Yeah. So trying to figure out the challenges and working through them is important. But after 18 years, you kind of seen certain outcomes, and everything is the art of negotiating. So you begin to, okay, well, this or that, if I can make the seller happy, and then the buyer wants to close, and then they need a lease back. And then, so structuring things to make deals happy. It's like fitting a puzzle. You have to have seller and buyer be your puzzle pieces and make things work.
And then you'd also have multiple businesses. How do you manage, so much, I guess, stuff to do? It's hard. Ef'n and I with our law office, is hard just running our offices. I've always thought about opening a business.
Mine's easy. I don't know what you're talking about.
You're like, every case is perfect. It's very easy.
Y'all must have good assistants.
Yes.
Yes.
Myself, the assistant.
At least it looks like.
And is that what it really is relying on other people to help you?
It looks like me, but it's not. I've got a phenomenal team, and my team consists of amazing first responders that people don't give enough credit for. They are the ones out there every day, saving lives every day. And I tell them, you see people on their worst day, so they take it into consideration. And hey, the next time someone saves your life, give them a compliment, because they really deserve it.
Ronnie, you are an incredible person, incredible business person, and you live in my district actually. So so you got my vote.
Does that mean you can vote for me? Okay, cool.
Well, I think if I vote twice, it's illegal, right?
Yes.
So it's only once, unfortunately, Ronnie. But you got my vote. I think we need more business people sitting on boards like this that bring a business perspective and a very unique perspective. Because looking at your background, none of this came easy for you, right?
No.
And having that background of struggle, do you think that makes you a better person? Or
well, I feel like that's what most of these students are going through. When you enroll in a community college, it's you and you. You're the one that has to enroll. You're the one that has to pay your classes. You're the one, so that's a good way to put it. If you want something, you earn it, right? But that's how I feel these students, that's the formula for them trying to earn their degree. Is there's, whether it's an associate's degree or whether we need to make sure the curriculum expands onto universities that they can transfer to. Because I know it's very discouraging when you've finished these classes and, I want to transfer, but they're not taking my curriculum.
Maybe. But Chris wanted me to ask you something.
Okay.
Okay. And he didn't have the guts to ask you, so I'm going to ask you. Okay.
Ask me.
Recently, Kim Kardashian came out with some business
He's already laughing.
advice.
Well, first of all, he's lying.
For women, right?
That's not true, but it is a good question, though. It is a good question.
Okay, so Kim Kardashian was quoted as saying what?
It seems like nobody wants to work these days. You have to surround yourself with people that want to work. Have a good work environment where everybody loves what they do because you have one life. No toxic work environments, and show up and do the work. Well, and what's funny is I thought is at the end she's like, no toxic work environments and show up and do work, which probably is good advice. But then someone mentioned like, oh yeah, and then they have people, they want to intern there at their business or whatever they have for free. It's like, well, why would I want to show up to work for free?
That brings me to a very good point. So one thing that I feel is a lot necessary that they could do more in community colleges is apprenticeship programs. Nowadays, your average student does not want to learn by textbook or reading or even audiobooks. The only way you're going to have them learn further is by giving them the experience in the field. And I've been told by students that have gone through the programs, and they're like, there was no outlet for us to go and become, students that were involved in electrical, certified electrician programs. And they didn't know where to go afterwards, how they can learn in the field. Oh. So doing more of that, even if it's just making, 25% of the class, you're in the field. So learn the real out there. It's helpful because it not only encourages them to go get jobs right afterwards, but it helps them figure out the day-to-day. If someone could have told you, hey, you can become a lawyer and you're 3/4 into finishing it before you take your bar, you'd have probably grasped on a lot further and been able to to understand real life scenarios transition easily.
Well, it's like exactly what you said about the real estate is you took the classes, but you got to get out there in the trenches, you know? And I know like at UT, at the University of Texas, the best school in the state, law school, for the record.
I disagree.
For the record, it's clear as day. I did the defense clinic, you know? So yeah, I was going to court, you know, I could barely, tie a tie, but I was there in court.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right. But going back to what did you think about what Kim said? Most importantly. I mean, because like you said, you have great employees at your business.
You don't want toxic environment, but no one wants to work around toxic environment. You do have to boost morale within your workforce.
I think the way she makes it sound, though, is that it's easy. That all you got to do is work hard and you'll make it. And I think, at least from what I've seen, is the game is a little bit rigged. I mean, if you come from a good financial background, it's a lot easier from you. If you come from a house that has two parents, it's a lot easier for you.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What are your thoughts, Ronnie?
I agree. I mean, money helps everything, right? But then if you have too much, then are you really motivated to go to school? That type of thing. Of course, I'm tying it into education, and we're thinking more workforce. But you do incentivize employees by money, but sometimes there's even more out there that you can't replace with. And I think that says a lot for like our police officers, for our, the ones that work in fire department unions and so forth. Because those are things that you can't replace, even if you were to offer them more. So
yeah, you have to have a passion for it in a way. I think it was a little controversial because people were like saying, I mean, Kim, you grew up in Beverly Hills. You're not. My parents, my dad, used to pick in the fields. It's a very different background, and to say, hey, get up and work. I mean, I guess depending, you wanted to pay them, less than minimum wage. What do you want to pay? So, but like then you take the second half of the quote of no toxic work environments. She's in a way saying, well, take care of your employees. So they kind of left off like most quotes nowadays. They give you the first half, the one that's inflammatory, and kind of left off the second half. How do you feel, Ef'n?
The way I feel, Kim Kardashian would never be able to sell anything at the bargain bazaar.
Maybe her piñata.
But Ronnie, thank you so much for coming on. You are
Anytime.
a good qualified candidate,
Thank you.
we hope to see you in charge of District 4.
I hope so too.
Board of Trustees.
Thank you.